Hello everyone, it's time to move to a different conference. Obviously we go to NFC and we start with NFC North, the division that had 3 playoffs teams, and yet none of them actually seen a second round. So what they did to make it to the Super Bowl, or obviously Lions, okay, they didn't make it to their second game. All of them lost their first. Obviously Lions went into second round because they went 15-2, because that's what Lions do, and they screw it up, unfortunately for them. Well, screw it up, I mean, what an injury bug they had last year. Well, with that being said, this video is brought to you by me and no one else. So if you want to support me, please leave a like, leave a comment, follow me on TikTok, follow me on X, or follow me here for shorts. And don't worry, there is a lot of draft content coming your way after this, because draft night is going to be awesome. I will be posting shorts for day 1, most likely for day 2. I might be online for day 3. So if you want to join me, I will be very, very happy. I hope my content will oblige in terms of you will enjoy it. With no further ado, let's take a look at Chicago Bears, because we start with them, whom they lost. So Darrell Taylor, he had a good year for them. I'm not gonna deny that, but this is kind of like whatever loss in terms of does it really influence their team? I don't really think so. Who I think is a big loss is Tevin Jenkins, who I do get that there are injury concerns surrounds this guy, but like when he plays, he is top 15 guard in the league, or top 20. And like he actually managed to stay healthy last season pretty much. And okay, if you look at sack numbers for the Chicago Bears O-line, it looks terrible, but a lot of it was on the play call, a lot of it was on Caleb, and a lot of it was on other guys of that offensive line, not on Tevin. So, man, I don't get it. Obviously, he's a guard, not a tackle. Great signing for the Browns, and truth to be told, the way they really tackle this offensive line in terms of season, you'll see how much I'm happy or not about that. I just don't get it why they didn't re-sign Tevin Jenkins on 1 year, $5 million. I would take that in hard. They also let go Coleman Shelton. It was kind of clear that they want to restart this offensive line with what. Guys, you know me and my memory of Ben Johnson, memory of names is just tragic. So I'm apologizing in advance. That's why I'm making notes, because I can remember 151 Pokemons from when I was 10, but sometimes I struggle to remember Ben Johnson. It's crazy. I'm sorry for that, but hope you know me well. This is just a minor hiccup on my journey. So go mention kind of whatever. Let's move to another slide, and now we start to what they actually brought. And they completely revamped this offensive line. And am I super happy with the way they've done it? No. Truth to be told, no. Drew Dalman, I think he's a pretty good center, but they paid kind of a premium for him, and I don't necessarily feel like he is a fit for what Ben Johnson was doing with Detroit. So in terms of run game, especially, he's a lighter center. I don't know about this one. I like him as a player. I think he was I don't think this is an overpay for Drew Dalman. Specifically, I feel like it's kind of an overpay for specifically the Bears. So I trust Ben Johnson. He knows what he's doing, definitely more than I do. But yeah, I have my concerns. I still think it's a solid signing, but I have my concerns. Joe Thuney, absolute slam dunk. When you want to not screw Caleb Williams and give him at least 1 year when he feels absolutely safe behind one complete guy of your offensive line, you bring Joe Thuney. It doesn't cost you I think it was 5th round draft pick, something like that. Of course you have to do it. On the other side, bring Jonah Jackson, whom I feel like Rams was kind of, we probably are going to cut him. And actually bringing him and paying him such a massive contract, it's weird. It's weird, man. Let me just recheck that I haven't screwed these numbers up, because I've did discards after free agency started, and for some guys, some of the numbers actually changed slightly from the original information. And yeah, I screwed this one up. It's actually more for a year 1. It's 14.75, not 10.5. So that even makes it probably a D-. I mean, to me, he's kind of almost like a replaceable level of a guard. Like that, if you have him and he's like your worst part of the offensive line, you can live with that. But actually paying 17 million for him, I don't know. I mean, I don't know, man. This feels like a huge overpay, and it's not like it's like a 1 year deal, and everything after that is kind of, you can cut him with no dead cap money. Like it's pretty much at least 2 years deal before you can let him go. I don't know. Like he's 28. I don't feel like he ever surpassed like my decent starter grade. Perhaps he had one season when he like even made it to the Pro Bowl, unjustifiably so, may I add. But okay, maybe there he was like a good starter. I don't know. Like this really feels like. I do understand you want to protect Caleb kind of under all cost, and he's not going to influence Caleb in terms of like when you have to pay him. John Jackson is most likely not there, definitely not for this type of money, and you have a way out after year 2 that will only cost you 3.5 million in that cap. But yeah, it's still a lot, man. It's still a lot. So interesting choice. In terms of other signings they've made, okay, I feel like I screwed this one up because I don't feel like they have the same numbers. Yeah, these are Dio's numbers, not Grady's. But the Grady's are similar. It's like, yeah, they kind of shifted it down a little bit. So these are Dio's numbers. Grady has 7 million year 1, 19 year 2, and 16.75 year 3. So it's actually very comparable in terms of the numbers. And truth to be told, like again, building from the trenches, something that Ben Johnson is very familiar from the Lions, and it clearly was the focus of the season. And let's face it, like trenches was one of the Achilles heel for this team. But like Grady Jarrett, I mean, he's 32. You are committing to him for at least 2 years based on this money. I'm not sure that he is going to put up good starter amount of quality out there for those 2 years, which is like, if that would be the case, that's a reasonable signing. Again, why I like it, when it's actually like a C+ and not like C- or D, is they absolutely needed someone. And also they have some talent in Zach Pickens and especially Gervon Dexter in terms of the interior of this D-line that Grady Jarrett, I think, could very, very positively influence going forward. So again, I do understand it. I even kind of like it, but it's still a lot of money for Grady Jarrett. In case of Downing, they're kind of banking on that he has his best years of career ahead of him, which is definitely a possibility. If he doesn't, this is going to be a slight overpay. If he does, this could be a very, very nice deal. And finally, you have someone opposite to Montez Sweat. But I would also argue that you can still justify making a relatively high pick for this defensive line because, now you have kind of your starting four in Grady Jarrett, Gervon Dexter, Downing, and Montez Sweat. The backups, there are players there, but I feel like you still can justify taking another guy into the mix. Though you have, especially for the edge, you have 2 guys that you committed pretty heavily for next 3 years, pretty much. So this leaves us with this roster. So this offensive line, let me stop on Braxton Jones because for some reason this is a guy that a lot of people want to replace, and it really reminds me of the situation with Rams and Alaric Jackson last off season, and I'm like, dude, Braxton Jones, okay, he's 18th best left tackle in the league. Is he going to be much more than that? Probably not, but he's still an incredible player. This is just, we have so many great left tackles in the league. And pretty much ever since he came into the league, it doesn't matter that he was 5th round pick? Yeah, 5th round pick. He was playing very, very solid football. So trying to replace him feels even more silly than what Rams experienced with Alaric Jackson, where it was he was undrafted, he didn't play up to the level of Braxton Jones in my eyes. So I would get that. I mean, I would still not do it, but I would get it. But I absolutely don't understand why people are mad about talking Braxton Jones extension, him earning 20 million a year. I think it's absolutely justified. He's only 26. I think you have a franchise left tackle. Don't mess it up. We will see what's going to happen. But yeah, that's that's one of the topics where I'm like, what's going on? I feel like you have much more glaring needs, and it's this interior. Like Joe Tooney is here, but you have him for 1 year. He's 33. You know, will he continue his career? Will he continue it here? There is no like guarantee for that. Again, I'm not a huge fan of Jonah Jackson, so like, okay, you probably committed to him because of the money, but it still does not mean that I cannot draft a guard because of Joe Tooney's situation. You know, yeah, to me that's much bigger need. So, you know, like a lot of people are like, okay, they invested, like, yeah, they will have this great offensive line. It could happen, but it also could be kind of like, I see a world in which this just doesn't work. Like Drew Dalman doesn't fit the scheme. Jonah Jackson is just not great. And like, yeah, when you have Darnell Wright, Joe Tooney, and in my opinion, Braxton Jones, like you should still have a great, like a good offensive line. But like the thinking is, and with the investments that you've made, could be, well, this should be one of the best offensive lines. And I feel like in best case scenario, that could be a case, but I also see a case when this is just an average O-line. Behind them, Caleb, yeah, obviously. Who else? So, in terms of playmakers, yeah, interesting situation because to me they have DJ Moore and they have Romeo Dunsepat, who is their third wide receiver. Kind of depends how much do you like Tyler Scott. I feel like I would not mind actually him having this role because I feel like year one he looked solid. But again, they are clearly trying to like almost go all in right now, which I actually applaud for. This is also why I like don't slam Jonah Jackson signing even more, because to me it like Texans did it last year, Bears are doing this now. I think when you hit on your QB, and I mean Washington kind of does the same thing this offseason. Like when you know you have your QB for the future and you have him for 4 more years or like 3 more years on a relatively cheap deal for a quarterback, let's just freaking spend and try to actually make some noise. It absolutely makes sense to me, so I applaud them for this. I'm just like, I feel like there were much better use of that money. So that's a question, like, do you trust Tyler Scott enough that in this situation where you are clearly pushing for it and you are in a very tough division, is he your wide receiver 3? I think especially when you have Cole Kmet, it could be the case, but I am far from certain. In terms of running back, like, if you guys follow, you know I'm not a huge fan of DeAndre Swift, and I don't want him to be my feature back for this offense. So, I mean, I like Roshan, but he's not like a 3-down back in my eyes that I want. So there's a reason why a lot of people are actually mocking Ashton Jeanty to them, but I feel like for them to get Ashton Jeanty, they would have to definitely trade up, which I'm not sure they will do. They might go with Marion Hampton, truth to be told. Why not, actually? So that's kind of your playmakers. In terms of backups, I mean, I feel like you have like your offensive line backups in terms of you have Ryan Bates as like an experienced center that has like a guard flexibility. You also taken Kieran Amagachi last year, like it was like a third round draft pick. Like I don't know, like I was not a huge fan of that. No, was he third round? Let me check on that one. Yeah, he was a third round. Okay, that was too soon. I don't expect like huge investments unless they are actually really keen on like letting Braxton Jones walk. In that case, they might invest heavily there. Also, like in terms of kind of backup tight end, I feel like Durham Smythe, Stephen Carlson, Jordan Murray, Joe Wilson, nothing screams that they should not address this situation. Backup QB, I mean, they have Case Keenum, they have Tyson Bagent. I do expect one of them actually taking this job, so they're kind of okay there. And as you can see, I don't have DeAndre Swift even as a backup because to me, like I am drafting a running back, I'm having Roshan as my number 2, and I'm cutting DeAndre Swift next offseason. It's that. So with the defense, like I said, your defensive line is kind of set. Again, if Kevin Dexter and Dowdemu kind of makes the step up, I think Montez Sweat has an amazing starter in him, and Grady Jarrett, if he keeps what he is as of right now, yeah, that now we're talking about really, really good defensive line, but is this a certainty? Far, far from that. They also let go Jack Sanborn as like their third linebacker, which is not my favorite move because, like, truth to be told, if I can have Jack Sanborn on like 2 or 3 million type of deal, or Tremaine Edmonds on 70 million, I'm taking Jack Sanborn and my 14 millions, and like I'm never looking back. They clearly trust that Tremaine Edmonds still has that one exceptional year in him. Well, good luck with that. I'm sorry. In terms of secondary, yeah, this is something that you got really nice heritage in my eyes. Jalen Johnson and Kyle Gordon are both paid for several years to come. You have 2 young corners in Terrell Smith and Tyreek Stevenson. They are on 2 years, still cheap deals. Yeah, this cornerback room is really special, man. Like they also have where is he? They also have like Josh Blackfell. Oh. Yeah. In terms of safeties, there is slightly more of an issue because both Brisker and Bayard are only 1 year left. But is this necessarily an issue that you need to be super concerned about? Well, I don't think so, because I feel like you are resigning Jaquan Brisker. I think he definitely earned it. And Kevin Byard, I mean, he's a veteran. There are a couple of other veterans still in the market. I think you can get your 1 year safety veteran pretty much whenever you want, in a way, especially if you like look like a playoff team. So yeah, to me, even though they like don't necessarily have like a future plan as of right now, or like a great future plan, I feel like you could be okay with that. Yeah, like I had Jake Sanborn here because I definitely expected him to be back with this team, and they kind of let him go for nothing instead of paying him $3 million, which I have absolutely no idea why. I think he is a very solid linebacker that could be even a starter in this league. So yeah, they kind of don't have backups there. They have a couple of backups for the safeties in Elijah Hicks, who can have like, he can play corner, he can play safety in my eyes. Jonathan Owens, yeah, why not? But nothing that screams like a great player. You don't know like what if Kevin Byard can repeat his like comeback season kind of last year. And also in terms of edge, like I said, like you have Dio, you have Montez Sweat, but behind it, it's not very much. I'm really sorry. That's like how do you say, like hair from cats? You know, like they have a lot of hairs, not hairs, fur, yeah, and it just kind of irritates my nose. So sorry for that. With that being said, let's take a look at how I drafted for them. Okay, so I really went for the approach that I don't know if there is a player that this team super need, and I cannot get him later in the draft, because to me the biggest problems or like the biggest question marks is interior of this defensive line, which I think you can address with Grace Abel, who, you know, if Seahawks doesn't take him, he could be there for 20 plus. So yes, I would not justify taking him 10. And also I want some depth for this defensive line. So I was like, really, if I, again, like this is very similar to like Patriots draft, when I don't feel like there is super huge difference between the players I can take with 10 pick and 30th pick. Like there is a difference, don't get me wrong. I don't think the difference is super heavy. And I would rather have like 3 or 4 players from this like 30 to 50 range, rather than having one from 10 and one from 40, if you understand. So I kind of went with this, and it actually got me a lot of nice picks for the future, as well as having several second round picks. This would be a draft that I would absolutely love for the Bears. I feel like it's slightly more unrealistic, because even though like I don't force trades with PFF, I'm not sure that they have like the best tables in terms of value, how the teams like are necessarily trading, because to me this just felt like I kind of ripped them off a little bit. especially Packers, but maybe not. I'm not sure. Let me know now in the comments what this draft would do. Like, it would do everything that this team needs in my eyes, because it would kind of like bulletproof this offensive line. With Grace Able, he can play guard, he can play tackle. I'm absolutely set with this offensive line, with Ryan Bass, Kieran Amedegeji, and Grace Able as my backups. Yeah, let's go. Derek Harmon, okay, like, he's almost like a kind of luxury pick, but like, if I have Grady Jarrett, and part of the reason why I have him is like a mentorship, let's bring him another like super talent to work with. Then Xavier Watts, to me, he's like the second best. I think I have him as my second best safety in this class. Yeah, I have him as my second best safety in this class. And like I said, with the safeties, you can go with the approach, let's resign Brisker and go for veterans, or when the guy is available. And I feel like this is actually quite a solid draft for like this safeties between like 40 and 100. There are a couple of names that I like, and Xavier Watts I like a lot. So when he was available, and I have this pick because, again, like, if I could have Xavier Watts and Derek Harmon, I will take it over having, for example, Mike Green. Though Mike Green is a better player than these two guys, I feel like combined value of these two over Mike Green is better. That's my opinion on like how I view this draft, like kind of post 7 to 8 players that I feel like are absolutely almost like must take. Then, like I said, I feel like they still could use some depth in terms of edge, and Princely Uman Milan, that's a nasty name. Is he necessarily like going to stop the run from the edge? I don't really think so, but what he can do to me is he can get to a QB, and yeah, that's kind of what you expect him to do, and what he's great at. And then Cam Scatterbo, like, is he Ashton Genty? Is he Omarion Hampton? No, but he's like one of, I would say, like top 5 running back in this class. Guy that could start, I think, immediately. Like, is he, as of right now, worse than DeAndre Swift? I'm not even sure, truth to be told. And I think he can be a feature back for this team. Like, he is not like, he reminds me of like David Montgomery, obviously, other than Jahmyr Gibbs. But like, you have, your shifty nifty guy in DeAndre Swift, in case like you actually want to use him. I think Cam Scatterbo offers you a different type of skill set, and definitely is great for it. Jalen Noel, like, what was the last kind of cherry on top that I could ask from this draft? To me was, well, I actually feel like, okay, I like Tyler Scott, but let's give another wide receiver into this room, and he is like a very solid, reliable option. Is he necessarily like where I struggle when I'm like, is he necessarily a guy that I want for this room? Because like, he does most of his damage from the slot, and that's not necessarily a position that like Bears absolutely need. But I was like, I still like him like well enough for what he provides, and like, I think DJ Moore and Romo Dunce can both play from perimeter, so why not? And then the rest of the draft was kind of like 7-round picks that, to me, I'm just taking the biggest guys out there to improve my running games in case they make the team and are going to make it on the pitch. So that was my Bears draft. I had fun with it. Like, again, I feel like it's a slightly unrealistic draft because I feel like I fleeced them, but maybe not. You let me know. I mean, I got extra second and paid extra third from next year. Now let's go towards the Packers. And Packers, as they kind of usually tend to, they don't necessarily are like a big spenders. They lost Tedera Slayton, they lost Josh Myers, kind of like whatever. And they brought a couple of players. And they actually brought 2 guys that they spent decent amount of money. Aaron Becks and Nate Hobbs. So let's start with the positive. Okay, Nate Hobbs, love the signing. This room, like with Jair Alexander, question about his future in terms of health, future in terms of like how they get along with the management of this team. You want a guy that can be leader of that secondary, leader of that cornerback room, and Nate Hobbs is absolutely that. The money, I think, are actually very, very good. The guarantees are not big, so very good signing in my eyes. They resigned Isaiah McDuffie, kind of solid signing, nothing special, but I feel like he, with the guarantees being so small and with, you know what you are getting in him, he could develop, because linebackers like take time, he could develop into a really nice player. So I think this could be a value signing. Where I don't know why they spend so much money is Aaron Banks. I mean, it kind of reminds me where there was a joke last year around where Seahawks were struggling to have a great O-line, and they were like, okay, let's bring some guys. And they took guys from Jets O-line, whom like in 2023 was kind of a disaster. And I was like, yeah, let's just sign players who like played for even worse O-line that we did. Yeah, somehow, some way. And now this year was kind of trend like, okay, San Francisco 49ers offensive line is like Trent Williams and good luck in my eyes before this year, before Dominic Purdy arrived. And yet, Chiefs and Packers were like, yeah, these guys are great. We spent a lot of money on them. I don't know. Like, to me, Aaron Banks is absolutely not worth this amount of money. Also, you like spent first or second round on Jordan Morgan last year. You tend to really nicely develop offensive linemen. Like maybe they know they will make him a superstar. In that case, that will make sense. But way too much money for Aaron Banks. Way too much money in my eyes. So we kind of was really like Packers again. Like they are not super free agency team. Okay, they made some splashy signings. There also was like they brought like Mecole Hardman, but like whatever. I'm not like covering every signing because I don't think every signing is actually that much relevant. Though Mecole Hardman could actually have a role on this team, which is a little bit scary for the Packers fans, truth to be told. Where are we in terms of this offensive line? So is Elton Jenkins moving and playing center? It looks like that. He should be capable of doing that, but again, would you be better off trying to go for Ryan Kelly and keeping Elton Jenkins as a guard? Would you be better off even like try to address the center in the draft? Would you be better off, I don't know, even like going for Drew Dalman than Aaron Banks? I think so. Okay, like it works. Sean Ryan, solid guard. Aaron Banks, solid guard. Elton Jenkins, I think he's going to work as a center. He has experience there. But like, you spend a lot of money. Your first round pick from last year and Jordan Morgan is on the bench, and like unless you are letting Sean Ryan go after this year, which to me would be kind of a mistake because he actually provided a solid play for you, and it's like, well, what is the plan with Jordan Morgan? Where you can definitely be happy with is the tackle positions with Zach Tom and Rashid Walker. Again, there could be a conversation about whether they will move from Rashid Walker. Again, similar to like Alaric Jackson, not necessarily the greatest draft pedigree, yet the guy just stepped in and played well. The question is, will they keep him? Because as of right now, 3 of these guys are not paid for next year. It's Sean Ryan and Zach Tom and Rashid Walker. With one guy, it makes absolutely no sense because we know you are assigning Zach Tom. This guy is freaking amazing. Like, you are assigning him. He's already like 3rd to 5th best right tackle in the game. Point blank, period, end of the sentence, no conversation. He is between 3 to 5. Like, he is not Penny Sewell. He's also not Lane Johnson. But behind that, there is a conversation. But like, again, you only have 2 guys, and one of them is Aaron Banks that you have resigned for next year. And the other is Elton Jenkins, who is moving to center, is 30 and has $25 million cap hit for next offseason. So it's like, it looks good on the paper, but I'm struggling to like super be excited about like what are Packers doing actually about this offensive line. Jordan Love, of course, there is nothing to say there. In terms of playmakers, their conversation is very interesting. It's not interesting with Josh Jacobs. This guy is amazing. He reminded everyone of that. He's their future back for a couple of years to come. In terms of tight ends, I don't think they will necessarily like invest heavily because they have Tucker Kraft, they have Luke Musgrave for 2 more years on cheap control. Both of them, they kind of double dip into the strategy. Where it gets interesting is this wide receiver room, because what is it? You have Christian Watson and you have Romeo Doubs. Both of these guys have major health concerns. And both of these guys only have 1 year left on their contract. It's Romeo, it's his head and concussions. Christian Watson is his like leg and like hamstrings and everything. So on paper, this team again like has Jaden Reed, they have Romeo Doubs, they have Christian Watson, they brought Michael Harmon, they have Dontanovic Wicks, they have Bo Melton, they have Malik Heath. They have a depth of wide receiver. They don't necessarily have an alpha, though Jaden Reed is like aspiring to be one. But in reality, we might be looking at this team, there is Jaden Reed, and then there is like such a huge gap towards the second best actually playing wide receiver in Dontanovic Wicks. And that's what makes it interesting, because I don't think we know how is actually the future of Dobbs and Watson shaping up. Like, what do their interior doctors are saying? Like, from outside perspective, it seems like their future career is in huge jeopardy. But I feel like we will learn during the draft process in how much of a jeopardy. Because if Packers do not invest heavily, and by heavily I mean first or second round into wide receiver, they clearly trust in these guys' future, or at least they will be able to suit up this season. Or they are kind of crazy, because like if you go into this year and you kind of count Jaden Reed and then it's Dontanovic Wicks, and good freaking luck. Because it's not like you have Travis Kelce, it's not like you have Brock Bowers, it's not like you have I mean, guys, what is George Kittle? I mean, what the hell with my name recollection. So I mean, you have solid tight ends, you don't have a special tight end. So I feel like we will learn a lot about Doubs and Christian Watson during the draft, actually. So with that being said, let's focus on the backups. Like I said, Dontanovic Wicks, Luke Musgrave, Jordan Morgan. Okay, in terms of tackle, I don't feel like they necessarily have a tackle that I trust to back these guys up. Obviously, perhaps Sean Ryan could play there, perhaps Jordan Morgan could play there. But yeah, to me, this team is going to invest at least one slightly premium into their offensive line. In terms of backups, Malik Willis, I feel like he showed that he's working with this team very well last season. They have him for 1 year. I would actually expect them to try to resign him, for even like some interesting type of contract, like $4 or $5 million a year. I think he's worth it. Emmanuel Wilson, actually, for kind of undrafted pickup like from 2 years ago, he showed very nice flashes last year. Still, they have also Marshawn Lloyd. Would it detract me from drafting a running back? Not necessarily, because if Josh Jacobs goes down, they are kind of screwed. And you maybe try to like ease some of the workload, but it definitely makes them okay not drafting a running back. In terms of defense, we talk about their offensive line, but their defensive line is also a huge question mark, because this was supposed to be the strength. And last year, it was kind of like a group, and kind of, I wouldn't say boring group, but definitely underperforming group. And right now, is it put up or shut up year for Lucas Van Ness? It probably should be, but are you actually counting on him as your two in this type of year for him? Because like as of right now, as a former first round pick, he didn't show much. And like if Devonta Wyatt and Kenny Clark had much better year than they had last season, and we can talk about Rashan Gary as well, you would be like, okay, if Lucas Van Ness is kind of like, worst case scenario, he's just like the free that is playing too, but we have the rest of these guys really great, then okay. But this was not great performance, especially Kenny Clark had like a huge dip in his performance. Rashan Gary was far from, a guy that was peaking and sneaking into eliteness. Right now, he's much closer to just an important starter. And Devonta Wyatt did not necessarily took a huge leap in his progression. So, again, on the paper, it looks like very good room. You have two veterans that you paid, that you trust, and like maybe they just had it down here in like new scheme under new defensive mind, and then you have two up-and-coming really good young players. But in reality, it might actually develop to be, like below average room, which would be actually kind of a problem for the Packers. In terms of linebacker, I mean, what Edge Cooper did last season kind of saves this room, because Quay Walker as investment, I think he was a first round pick if I'm not mistaken. Let me just double check on that. Yeah, he was a first round pick. It's not working so far, but Edge Cooper, he just burst into the scene and he was freaking awesome. So he kind of saves this room. And obviously you are not investing that. You also brought like McDuffie back, so you are set with linebackers. And I'm excited. Like Edge Cooper might be the guy that I'm most excited about, perhaps from this entire team, because he was freaking awesome last year. The question is, was it flash in the pan, or was it actually just a preview of what he can be? We will see. In terms of secondary, I feel like they are set with Nate Hobbs arriving, and actually Jair, as of right now, like he's still on the roster, and it feels like they are not going to cut him. They will continue with the situation. And if that's the case, you have Carrington Valentine, you have Keyshawn Nixon. I think that's solid. And especially when your safeties are actually very, very nice room. You have obviously great player in Xavier McKinney, whom signing like last year was questioned in terms of how much money you are spending. He definitely proved that he deserves every penny of that. Evan Williams had a very, very nice year, and you also invested in Javon Bullard last draft, like in second round. So, like again, if Jair is able to play, this could be very, very nice room. If he doesn't, suddenly, it's a still workable room. That's why I absolutely love Nate Hobbs signing, because if he's two next to Jair, special, but he can also be a one that you go with. So especially when you have a solid group of players around him. That leaves us with Packers backups, and here is where I'm like, okay, Javon Bullard, Carl Brooks, Kingston Agbari. Okay, I'm kind of okay with these guys. Isaiah McDuffie should be here as a linebacker. I feel like at the time when I was redoing this, he was not re-signed. So sorry for this, but he is definitely here. But in terms of corner, again, how high they draft a corner, I think tells us a lot about Jair Alexander's situation. If it's second round corner, despite him still being on the roster, it feels like a move that was just there for somebody trying to trade for him and get some picks. Because if they, again, I feel like if they go a second round corner, it kind of means that Jair is either unable to play due to injuries or unwilling to play for this franchise because of the tension that could be there. So with that being said, let's go towards the draft. And with me and James Pierce still being on the board, he's my edge 3. Again, let me check on this one because my memory with the names. Yeah, he's my edge 3 behind Abdul Carter and Mikey Green. And with him still being on the board, I'm like, okay, Lucas Ones, you had your chance. I'm taking James Pierce. Fight it out. I'm absolutely okay with that. James Pierce, he comes with slight injury concern, so I'm absolutely okay having this investment into this edge room, especially with where this team is in terms of the division. You need to get through really good offensive lines. Detroit, Bears invested heavily. Vikings again invested heavily. Then, again, I don't know, but to me, I want to address these positions because both wide receiver and corners are susceptible in my eyes. And also, yeah, I would like to take interior of the offensive line, but does that sound reasonable given the Aaron Banks signing? No. I'm probably under impression that it's okay, they will resign most of these guys and probably entrust Jordan Morgan to start over Sean Ryan next year, or let Sean Ryan go. So I was okay, offensive line, no. Quarterback, no. Running back, luxury pick, I don't want to invest heavily there. Tight end, no. Or at least not in with premium picks. Wide receivers, yeah, I really don't know. It might be I am just with Jalen Reed there. So yeah, let's invest premium. I like Kyle Williams. Somehow, some way, we kind of get on board with that with PFF. Thank you for the B. To me, Kyle is borderline top 10 wide receiver for me. But it's like, at this point, from with the 4th round, yeah, that absolutely works. Darren Porter, he's just like, he has some tools that are excellent for his position. He's like super athlete. He has ball hawk mentality. He's a former wide receiver, so like you know that he can like switch the games up with some interceptions. Like why he's like this late on the board. Well, he has some deficiency in his game. Like his coverage is far from perfect, but I think that this is something you can definitely work with. So to me, this is how I would address it. The rest of the draft was pretty much like filling some of the backup roles that I feel like this team needs. Who am I like most happy with? I guess we could say Aeneas Peebles, because he's undersized, but I feel like that's something that Packers are kind of used to work with in terms of this defensive line. So I feel like he could work with that. He could work in the system. So I would be happy for this draft. Is it like something special? No, I think this is just a solid draft for the Packers that kind of felt natural, you know, looking at the board, not necessarily like feeling the urge to move up because board was like falling fine for me, and really addressing the biggest issues that I think they have by like drafting guys that I think works there, are not overdrafted, and just a good value. So let me know, Packers fans, what would you think of this? But now from Packers to pulper incarnation of Satan, as Tom Grossi says, towards Minnesota Vikings. Well, they were much more active, or like more active than Packers, but it's like, well, I do walk more than, you know, most 90-year-old people do in a day. Like, it's not necessarily a good benchmark to compare yourself. Whom they lost? Sam Darnold. Huge loss, but kind of expected one. If he works, he wins a playoff game, or he beats Lions with like fighting for number 1 spot, it would be hard to sell this team on like letting him go. With him like laying an egg, seeing demons or ghosts in his case, it was really easy. You know, let's go with JJ McCarthy. This was the plan all the way. We had a really nice season with Sam, but JJ is the future, partially because we invested heavily into other areas and we need a cheap quarterback, which is absolutely fine. Daniel Jones, I mean, I just put him in. I didn't put anything into Daniel Jones, don't get me wrong. Because like he was part of the team, yet he never played a snap, I think. And he went for like a decent amount of money towards Colts. And Cameron Bynum, another player that went for big money towards Colts. I'm okay losing him for this amount of money. Like, I think he's a good player. I don't think he's necessarily exceptional that would justify spending super high resources on safety position. That like, I mean, it's not that valuable. Let's be fair. And also, like, I think this is a nice safety draft, so I'm okay looking for replacement there. Though it leaves this position susceptible for the Vikings, whom they lost again. Like other guys, Gary Berber, they let go. They wanted to upgrade in center. Makes sense. Patrick Jones for this amount of money. I mean, Panthers kind of, like, after losing Milton Williams, they felt a little bit desperate, and to me, they overpaid a couple of guys, but that's their issues. The only guy that I would be missing if I'm Vikings fan is actually Johnny Mant, because I feel like he's kind of underestimated tight end that just happens to be in a situation when in front of him was Josh Oliver and TJ Hawkinson, so good effing luck. But to me, he's like very solid tight end too for most of the teams out there. And I feel like Jake's actually made a nice piece of business there. And I really don't think that Vikings wanted to lose him, but it was either overpay him or like he definitely wanted to go somewhere where he can play. And for you to overpay on him doesn't make necessary sense when you have Josh Oliver and TJ Hawkinson. So that's like a under the radar loss that I feel like hardcore Vikings fans will feel, but for like a normal, a casual NFL fan, it would be like Johnny who. So Johnny Mant, just for you to know. They also let go Cam Robinson. This was kind of always like half a year rental that actually didn't work that well. because of Darius' injury. So definitely reasonable move. So who they bring? Jordan Mason. Absolutely love the signing. The only slight question mark why I'm like not having this an A is there is a good group of running backs in this draft. So if you wanted a guy that's going to ease up the load on Aaron Jones, maybe you could find one there. But then when you look at how many picks Vikings have, it's 4 picks. You're like, okay, I get that. So, but obviously they paid something for Jordan Mason in terms of picks. So that's the only thing that kind of makes it far from A. But I'm a huge fan of Jordan Mason. I think he brings like a workload type of player that can really ease Aaron Jones, especially early in the year. I would not be surprised if like early, if they are smart about it, and I hope they will be, Jordan Mason actually outsnaps Aaron Jones, because Aaron Jones to me has like cap on 350 snaps, or not like, okay, it's like 600 snaps and like 300 carries perhaps. Is that too much? Perhaps like 250 carries, after which like his production just goes downwards. Like he's unable to stay in the best shape towards January if you make him your workhorse. I think Packers knew that, and I feel like Vikings actually learned that the hard way last year, because first half of the year Aaron Jones was special. The second half of the year it was like kind of wasn't there. Like was kind of a non-factor for them. So I feel like Jordan Mason could be a guy that starts the season outsnapping Aaron Jones, and then it's like shifts towards Aaron Jones where the games should matter more. In terms of the rest of the signings here, they went and brought a couple of guys from Colts in Ryan Kelly and Will Fries. So we start with Will Fries, who is obviously a huge signing. I've heard a lot of people being super excited about this, and actually super mad at Colts management for letting him go. I mean, one, if I'm Colts fans, I understand the frustration, but I feel like some of the things that this team does well is actually offensive line. And you have, whether it's like Dalton Tucker, who actually played super solid there last year, or you can invest and develop the guys, not necessarily pay Will Fries like almost 20 minutes a year. And with Will Fries, a lot of people argue like, okay, but this was like a broken leg, so you should not be super worried. This is not an injury that lasts, blah, 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 blah. I get that. I'm not super worried about like his injury proneness, or that his injury actually like makes him like a bad player or whatever, like that he declines. What I'm worried about is I feel like he had a stretch of 3 or 4 games in which he looked exceptional, but his previous like 40 games in NFL was like very solid, but not exceptional. And also like looking exceptional on the offensive line, where you have strength after strength after strength next to you, it's, I would say, slightly easier. So I have my doubts about what is the current ability of this guy and what is his potential. I think he could be a Pro Bowl guard. I think he could, but I just don't see those chances as high as the people that are stoked about the signing. Again, as you can see, a C-. It's not D as it was in Aaron Banks, or like even worse. But to me, this is just a lot of money for a guy that could be a Pro Bowler, but I just don't see those chances as much as like high as other people's do. But what I like about this is obviously invest to protect JJ McCarthy. Like you need to protect this guy. Yes. I understand. Ryan Kelly also makes signing of Will Fries much more reasonable in my eyes, because it's much more easier to transition to a new team when you have a guy next to you who played next to you like previous 3 years. And that's what's going to happen with Will Fries and Ryan Kelly. Also, Ryan Kelly is an upgrade over Garrett Bradbury. The money is just more, but like it's not triple more, so I'm absolutely okay with that. Only question is durability. Like, will Ryan Kelly play 17 games? Most likely not. Are you prepared for this scenario? We'll see. But again, love the signing. Other guys they brought, they re-signed Byron Murphy. To me, if the decision was Cameron Bynum or Byron Murphy, because they kind of went for similar amount of money, I think Byron is slightly better player or on slightly more valuable position. So yeah, go for it. Resign Byron Murphy. Absolutely love that. Javon Hargrave, to me, that's amazing signing. Like, he's older, like he was not his best self like last 2 years, but I still feel like he is a great player, and it's kind of like there is not much of negatives on the signing in my eyes, because like if he does not work, you can cut him after the season, and actually I will give you a precise number how much money you have in that cap. 1 second. I think it's around like 2 million or something crazy like that. Oh, it's actually more. Okay. Oh, so okay, they changed the numbers. Oh, sorry for that. So that makes it slightly worse, because now it's 19 million guaranteed, not 7. So some early signings were a little bit lying. So with that being said, okay, I changed it to B, because now the signing has his downfall. If Javon Hargrave is kind of what he was last 2 years, it's still good, but obviously he's going to be almost 33 when the season starts, so he might decline even more. There could be injuries. Still, I really like the signing. I think he's an amazing player, and still for the average that you are going to pay, which is like 15 million on this contract, I think it's absolutely worth it. The only thing now, it has some of a downfall in case of if it doesn't work, you are not really free to let him go after year 1 with almost not that cap. Now it's that 10 million instead of 2, which I feel like was originally reported. So that would be a B. Next guy is Jonathan Allen. So I understand why Brian Flores like him and why you are bringing him, and also like we kind of with Jonathan, like you feel like he is like super old, but he's just 30. Like he's just so long in the league. And the fact that he just didn't have like super great years with the Washington last 2-3 seasons, like A, it was partly injuries, B, the team was kind of not great around him. And last year, he was kind of a non-factor until the playoff arrived, in which like he had special games. So he could be a monster under Brian Flores, or he could just not be good anymore. We will see. Still, like the clear investment for this team was trenches. And again, when I said for some teams, the over emphasis on trenches was like, to me, unjustified, because those teams need great trenches for playoffs. But you know, if you are, I don't know, Titans, well, you are not going to the playoffs this year, so what are we talking about? But for the Vikings, obviously, they are in their Super Bowl window. They want to win now, and it definitely makes sense. Whom they brought next, I like really Isaiah Rodgers signing. Yeah, he's just very good player for $5 million a year. He's still just young, 27. Super happy about this one. Aaron Jones resigning, especially when you had a plan. At least it seems like you have a plan with Jordan Mason. It makes a total sense. He is a great guy, and still a great player, but he just needs to have a little bit in his tank to be a great player. And I feel like you are now making sure that he has it for when it matters. It leaves us with this offense. So Christian Darrisaw, O'Brien O'Neal, one of the best tackles duo in the league. You are super happy, and you like obviously have both these guys for next couple of years. And in terms of interior, you have Ryan Kelly, you have Will Fries, but I still don't know who is like the guard next to them. As of right now, they are scheduled to start. Whom they are scheduled to start? Black Brandel. Yeah, I feel like you need to invest in that group. Yeah, I mean Black Brandel could be a starter, especially if like he's your weakest link. It could happen. And you know, if you are higher on Will Fries than me, yeah, maybe you just go with Blake Brandel. But yeah, I really feel like you should invest in the interior. JJ McCarthy, yeah, he's supposed to be a starter. In terms of playmakers, there is no wide receiver 3 in my eyes. Like that's like worth talking about. We can say that they have who, Jalen Naylor, Rondell Moore, Tim Jones, yeah, kind of. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, especially for this team, because you have really great running back that can catch the ball in Aaron Jones, and you have Jordan Anderson, Justin Jefferson, T.J. Hawkinson. like you have enough threats. You don't need to invest in wide receiver 3. And as TFG says, and I actually tend to agree super heavily with him on this one, it's like if you actually feel like if you are Eagles, if you are Vikings, you need to have a third guy behind your elite duo, or like Bengals, and especially when you have reliable or even in this case great tight end, and if you have like great receiving running back, it's like you don't, because there is just not enough ball to be like spread around. Like you don't need to invest here heavily. So to me, wide receiver 3 should be like some type of like wide receiver 3 by a committee. If I want to run the ball, I want a blocker out there. If I want someone to just burst deep, I just go and find like the ISO speed, the speediest guy from the street, whatever, that just like goes one route. I don't need a guy that can do a lot of things. I kind of need plethora of very cheap guys that perhaps can do one thing good, and I will use them based on the situation because I have my core. So that's kind of how I view the Vikings. In terms of backups, yeah, there's something to be said about this. Like as a backup QB, there's Brett Ripien right now. I mean, come on. They have Jalen Arrow. We talk about, like I said, they lost Johnny Munt, so I would not be shocked if they went for a tight end. And I also feel like they don't necessarily have like superb tackle depth. Maybe they go and risk it with the biscuit, but perhaps they just draft here. In terms of defense, yeah, this defense should be fun under Brian Flores, and it's still beyond me how Brian Flores doesn't have a head coaching job. League, you screwed up again. Good luck and good job, Vikings, because this defensive line could be really, really special. There is also Dallas Turner just waiting in terms of a backup as of right now, but oh my god, this could, like, at their peak, this defensive line could be freaking nasty. Like, and again, I absolutely trust Brian Flores to just... I'm excited. Like, let me tell you right now, I am excited about what he can do with Javon Hargrave, Jonathan Allen, Jonathan Grant, Evan Kinkel, Darius Turner. I am excited. And also, you have to take into account Ivan Pace and Blake Cashman, because this duo of linebackers was playing superbly last year, and I don't see a reason why they should not continue. Ivan Pace, obviously a guy that you just put out there and you treat him as like kind of cannonball that you never know as offensive line what he does. And if you have this pressure and you already have like 4 guys from the defensive line that you have to count on, good effing luck. This defense, like, this is really nasty defense. Let's go to our secondary, and like the good things don't necessarily stop here, but the high-end play I think does. You need this secondary to be good, and it has makings to be good secondary. It doesn't have makings to be special. I think Byron Murphy, Isaiah Roger, Mekhi Blackman could be very solid corners, like in terms of a trio. Again, average in terms of overall capabilities, but that's kind of all that you need. Like, if you have good average secondary, you have really special linebackers duo, you could have one of the most dangerous defensive lines, you have a bunch of crazy playmakers, you have a solid run game. It's all going to be about JJ McCarthy, man. Like, I really feel like this team has foundation to be special team, and like obviously they went and won 14 games, right? But this year they could be even better in terms of actually ceiling on this team could be a Super Bowl if JJ McCarthy hits the ground running. And I don't mean it in the way of Jaden Daniels, because if he plays like Jaden Daniels, this team is kind of a Super Bowl favorite in my eyes, because hell. But yeah, like, not everyone plays like Jaden Daniels year one. And when I say not everyone, I mean never ever anyone. But if he goes and plays like, I don't know, 15th best quarterback, which could be in him, especially with the playmakers around him, watch out for the Vikings. Watch out. Obviously, injuries could deplete their season. They are not necessarily super deep, as you can see, especially like safety position, corners. I mean, defensive line, I feel like they are deep there, but yeah, I think in terms of secondary, that would be my concern. So what I was leaving from like look down of this roster, I want great offensive linemen, and I want depth in my secondary. So I went and did just that. Surprise, surprise. So with Grace Abel, I didn't thought that I would not trade down because, again, they have 4 picks. But if Gray Zabel is available, I'm just freaking taking him because he completes my offensive line, man. And he's freaking awesome. So to me, he's a value there, not a C+, but like I would give myself an A, but maybe I am giving myself some slack. And then again, I thought I would trade down with 97 pick, and then was like Billy Mauman is just absolutely the guy that I want for this defense because I feel like he can replace Harrison Smith in a year. Yeah, I definitely think so. So great for him, and he can learn. But I think he's already like capable of playing. He's my safety 8, and like this is kind of the range that I had for him. And then I was like, okay, still, I want to be certain that if Will Fries goes down, I have a replacement. And Seth McLaughlin to me is like 5th best center in this draft, or even better. Yeah, I take him here, especially when this is like still a position that I have concerns about, whether it's for the future because I only have Ryan Kelly for 2 years, but also for right now in terms of like ability of Ryan Kelly to stay healthy. And then Ollie Gordon, I mean, we constantly battle with PFF on this guy. To me, he's like a 4th or 5th round player. They are saying he's a 7th round player. I mean, when you look at him, he is just big and strong. What do you want when there is cold outside, there is snow outside, which is in Minnesota kind of a lot? What do you want when you already have Aaron Jones? You want a fully built running back. And you have that one in Ollie Gordon. So I would have a lot of fun with this draft, even though there was like, okay, I'm trading down. Oh, but I have this player, I cannot trade down. Okay, but I'm trading down here. I'm not. So yeah, it was kind of like simple, but I would say simple but very, very good. Now towards the last team, and that's Detroit Lions. So whom they lost? Kevin Zeitler. You heard me ranting about this. I'm not going to do this again. Like I feel like they have a plan with Christian Mahogany, but still Kevin Zeitler 9 million a year doesn't make any sense to me. If Melifonwu, like very solid player for a cheap contract, I wonder, like he obviously wants to go somewhere where he has better chance of playing. Like here with Kirby Joseph, Brian Branch. Yeah, there is no certainty that he would start, so makes sense. And like he takes 1 year deal in which he can prove himself and actually secure himself for the future. Carlton Davis, I think it sucks to lose him, but it doesn't suck anymore because you replaced him with, in my eyes, slightly cheaper, slightly better, and a more durable version in DJ Reed. So I'm happy for you, Detroit. They also let go of Zadarius Smith, kind of whatever. Even though he's a good player, it was never like meant to stay here. Whom they brought back, whom they resigned. They pretty much resigned a lot of players. Derek Barnes, makes sense. Too much money in my eyes, but why not? They want to repay their own, it makes sense. Le'Veon Wuzurike, on the other hand, here I think this is a value. To me, I would expect him to sign for 6 or 7 million. And especially like when you look at these 3 resignings, what they struggled with was depth on the defensive line. Well, yeah, here comes the depth. Although Marcus Davenport, I mean, what's over-under on his snaps next year? I mean, I hope for this guy he can stay healthy, but unfortunately, the past says otherwise. Whom they brought, again, they resigned Tim Patrick, who I like, if Kevin Zeitler, I don't understand. I also don't understand Tim Patrick. Like, the only knock on Tim Patrick was, can he stay healthy? He stayed healthy the freaking whole year, and he was really good and really useful wide receiver 3 kind of for this team. And then, like, how does this guy don't get like 5 or 6 million somewhere? I don't understand, man. Like, I think he's like super value for 2.5 million, and I think Lions are super happy to have him back. In terms of guys that brought from outside, DJ Reed, I already talked about him. Super solid signing. Like last year, I thought that the cornerback room of the Jets, Carter, Reed, and Sauce are by far the best corner trio. They had a bad year, but it was kind of, the whole Jets organization was a mess. I definitely believe he is going to bounce back and be super, almost like a superstar. Real Lopez, kind of, again, filling this defensive line with capable players. Makes sense. Why not? This leaves this team with this lineup. So I really trust that they will start Christian Mahogany. I think he showed enough. The only question mark is his injuries. And with that being said, this is also like kind of the only position that I have worries about this offensive line, because Graham Glasgow is like a solid player, but not necessarily a great one. You don't know about Christian Mahogany and his like dependency. So if I look at this, I'll see one space that I would invest. That's my guard, because Penisu, Frank Gagnon, and Tyler Decker, hell yeah, these dudes are freaking awesome. I mean, behind them, Jared Goff, again, going to like work through the summer whether I will keep Jared as an amazing starter. Probably will. They obviously paid him. They are clear set on him. I was actually expecting them to not do that and perhaps going into this year's draft and trying to get a quarterback for the future. They are clearly thinking, well, we are in the window now. Let's not screw this window. Kind of not screw the future, but let's worry about 25, 26 and the money for 27 and 28. We will just figure it out then. So it was kind of like future, not necessarily, how to say it, like responsible decision, but when there's a Super Bowl at stake, you can definitely stomach that. In terms of playmakers, I think you are set here. Like Sam Laporta, Jamar Gibbs, David Montgomery, Jameson Williams, Amon-Ra, and Tim Patrick, it makes total sense together. The only thing could be you are drafting someone to replace Tim Patrick after this year, which, that could be a case, but the rest kind of plays itself out. In terms of backups, again, like you have Dan Skipper, you have Giovanni Manu. Perhaps those guys are good enough to be your backups. Again, like we are talking, they are in Super Bowl window, they want to win right now. I'm not necessarily certain that they should be counting on these guys. So there could be some space to draft. Brock Wright, Kyle Fremont, definitely like that. In terms of quarterback backup, I think they're probably going to set up on Hendon Hooker, because why not? Like he's still cheap and he's like a solid floor, not high ceiling type of a player. In terms of third running back, they still have Craig Reynolds, they have Sion Evaki. I don't expect them to like draft premium there. They might go with someone, but I would say Sion Evaki or Craig Reynolds actually are going to occupy RB3. Their defense. So Hutch, McNeil, DJ Reader, and someone. I mean, to me, this team needs a freaking edge. They have a lot of pieces. They brought a lot of veterans here to just kind of not sit through what they sit through last year, when they again brought a lot of veterans, but kind of from the street, not necessarily their pickings. I feel like you just need to bring an edge into this group, because this group has so much potential to be super special, and I feel like you need a guy to just take advantage of the O-line needed to shift their focus to Alan McNeil and Hutchinson. And if DJ Reader actually has a better year than he had like prior to last year, where he struggled, but also like he was kind of one of the guys that was able to kind of stay healthy almost the entire season, which is like kind of weird for him. But he, like in a lot of cases, he was kind of alone out there. So I can kind of justify that for him not to be like an X factor that you were hoping for. This year, if you have Ali McNeil and Hutchinson that the offensive line needs to slide towards, I think DJ really could have a really nice bounce back year and get back his amazing starter status. I truly believe that. So to me, edge. In terms of linebackers, Anzalone and Campbell, yeah, I think they are solid starters. You also have Derek Barnes, you have Malcolm Rodriguez, set here. Secondary, with DJ Reed being brought here, they also brought Amik Robertson for like 1 year, $6 million. You have Brian Branch, you have Kirby Joseph. Special safety duo. Though Brian Branch, like, do you limit him to only play safety? I don't really think so. So that being said, I'm like looking at the situation more of this room needs a safety, because I am kind of okay using Brian Branch as a slot a lot, and then DJ Reed, Darren Aaron, Amik Robertson is kind of enough to have on perimeter. So again, when I look at this, it looks like I need a corner. I actually think I need a safety. In terms of backups, Arkansas, they drafted last year Malcolm Rodriguez, Derek Barnes, Mekhi Wingo, John Pascal. To me, edge. Like you can say they have Roy Lopez, they have Marcus Davenport. I went for like younger players or like their players, not the players that they brought here and necessarily did not play for them, but they have backups. To me, you are really striving for top end, starting caliber edge. And how did I do with their draft? Well, I had fun. And when I had fun, you know that there was some trading. And to me, I was sitting like calm, collected, And then the 25th pick from the Texans was on the clock, and I'm like, James Pierce is still out there. I need to have James Pierce. And I was like, yeah, let me give James Pierce. And like, again, this is where I'm like PFF. This was actually an overpay by PFF, just giving them a 6th rounder to move 3 spots. To me, this is valued much more. I feel like that would be like a 4th rounder. But, you know, like, again, I play by the rules of PFF. And I will show you like how they grade me by their rules also. So I really, like, this was kind of clear what I'm willing to do. And then I'm still sitting there, and 2 picks later, Grayzable is on the board still, and I'm like, dude, this makes total sense for me. Like, I like Christian Mahogany, but again, like, I feel like Grayzable, if Christian Mahogany is as good as he showed last year in his flashes, well, I think Grayzable can overtake Graham Glasgow, and at worst, he's like a 6th man for this offensive line that's absolutely special. And do I mind spending future 2nd for it? I mean, I kind of do, but I'm freaking all in. So absolutely went for it and absolutely love. Like, if they get James Pierce Jr. and Grayzable, and also I was kind of able to actually get very, very solid picks in my eyes, because I double dipped into safety where I'm like, yeah, I want Brand Branch to kind of play whatever he wants in terms of like whatever I need. And I need someone next to Kirby Joseph, and Latte Ransom I feel like is able to start right away. Where I have him, Latte, where are you, mister? Yeah, like and he's also like kind of prototypical line. He's big and he's going to smash you. And with Jalen Reed as another guy in the process, he's just an aggressive, like not a pit bull out there, but almost like that. Like, yeah, these dudes feel like lions to me. And with Will Shepard, kind of my thinking is this could be a guy that could replace Tim Patrick, because he's kind of this big-bodied. He kind of knows how to use his body to like gain leverage and stuff. So this feels like an absolutely great draft for the Lions. I had so much fun with it, and I feel like I would be super happy for them, because like I'm not a Lions fan, but after last year I kind of root for them to just have another great year, because they kind of deserved it after the injury bug that they had last year. And this, to me, this would set them for, you know, definitely a Super Bowl. Like, they are still in the Super Bowl bubble. They will be kind of no matter the draft. But I think this could be a draft that pushes them over the edge. Let me know what you think. This was a bit of speed up version, not necessarily because I needed to get this done sooner rather than later. It's speed up because I can speak now. So this kind of sometimes my usual talk, especially when I'm excited about stuff. I was excited about a lot of the drafts for this division, and also like talking about great teams. You know, most of these teams are great, or like could be special if like one thing works out for them. You know, for the Bears, it's probably Caleb / offensive line. For the Vikings, it's obviously JJ McCarthy. For the Packers, it could be health of these guys, and for the Lions, again, health. And great draft. And I think this would be a nasty draft. Okay, so that was it. I hope you guys enjoyed that. If you did, leave a like, leave a comment. Don't forget to follow me, because draft is just 4 days from now, and there's going to be so much fun around the draft. Bye bye, and have a nice day.